Hey everybody, this is Book of Katherine. So this is my message to the men in uniform who are going out and serving our country. I want you to know what you're really doing out there because you're going to have a lot of things in your ear. So right now they are sending a lot of film and video to us around the world about you. I'm sure you have seen it and you are out there and you don't have anything coming back at you from us, the people here in America, to give you reality. And they're not really sending anything about you guys over here that's real either. And so I want to kind of give you guys a reality check over there and give those of us at home a reality check over here. So, number one, just for our men in uniform over there, we are totally in support of you. Some of us are just starting to understand of it, but more have realized it now than have in the last 30 years. Understand that people in uniform are protecting the rights and freedoms of others around the world. You're not just protecting American lives. For example, those of you who are protecting the North Korean line and the South Korean line, we now understand that you're protecting the rights of the South Korean people. If it were not for you, South Korea would be robbed of all of its rights and they would be in concentration camps just like those in North Korea, just as poor, just as poverty-stricken, and just as starved. Women would not be able to wear their hair the way they want to, wear their makeup the way they want to, wear the clothes that they want to. They would not have that right. They would have socialism. It's because of men in uniform from the United States of America on that line with guns that the people of South Korea, and yes, that means BTS, they have the freedom to dance for the world, only because of men in uniform. More than ever, we understand that that's because of you, even if the media doesn't say it. The media, as more and more are starting to understand, are owned by powerful banks, and those banks are the union of corporations under the monarchies of Germany, of the UK, of France, of Iran, of China, and possibly Russia. Russia doesn't have a monarchy. They were linked. I guess Putin may still be linked. May still be linked to the royal families. In any case, those of you in uniform, I want you to know that we in the world understand that you stand for our sovereignty, not just those here in the United States of America, that you stand for free speech, the freedom to speak out loud, the freedom to gather, the freedom to dissent from our government, that we have the freedom to say, oh, you say the minimum wage is 7.25 cents. I dissent. I think it should be zero. I think that when I was young, my first job was $5 an hour, and that's why they were able to hire me at the age of 12, so that I was able to learn and become a good worker, so that my next job was able to be double that, $10 an hour, because I was so good at my job. And then I was very young, already making $10 an hour before I was even 16 years old. And then they made laws that said I couldn't even work that young. I was making a lot of money, more than young people are able to make today. I was more skilled, more able, and making more money at the age of 18 than young people are today because of their so-called laws that increase the wages of young people and families around America. I can dissent from the headlines. I can dissent from lawmakers who are taking the greased palms that monarchies in the UK and Germany and Iran and China and Russia and France are offering them. I can dissent. I can dissent from my lawmakers. I have that freedom because I live in America and because you protect that right for me. I thank you for that right. And so do the people in Yemen, and so do the people in Syria. So many people across the globe thank you and thank President Trump for giving them religious freedom back, for holding the very first summits on persecution for religious rights, saying it's okay to have whatever religion you have the freedom to practice it, because religion is the number one means of control in the world today. So religious freedom is a huge threat to the monarchies and the imperialist empires that still rule the world today. it's more important ever that we need you now. Britain has a monarchy because the parliament has failed its people. It's no longer a working republic. The parliament has not honored the vote of the people, therefore it's only the monarchy that stands. It is no longer a republic. In fact, I just saw Richard Branson said Princess Diana saved the monarchy and prevented the UK from becoming a republic, which means it never was a republic. And if you go back into the history, it looks like all the way back to King Henry VIII, it looks like they prevented Parliament from ever becoming an actual republic. So England isn't even a republic. I take my freedoms way, 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 way more seriously now. And you with guns for America and our freedoms, you mean much more than ever. And because England and her monarchy and her imperialist and her commonwealth and her dominion has grown so much in this world, and they and their bankers own so many of the headlines across the globe and their industries in Germany that still work with Iran and China, such as BASF, Bayer, which bought Monsanto, by the way, Krupp Steel, Volkswagen, BMW, Siemens. You'll see them everywhere. Our lawmakers, even GOP lawmakers, have put them into our infrastructure for the monarchy. And you men with guns, the monarchy says no one should have guns because that would be a threat, just like King George III said it would be a threat. But we get to protect our land and our property with it. And you protect our rights and our freedom, and we stand by you for that. And I just want to say to you that we don't believe the images they're sending back. They send back images that look like you're lost. I want to tell you one thing. I know a lot of those images are doctored, and I also know a lot of the images are cherry-picked, because then there are other few little images that show how strong you really are. They'll take the freshest, newest kids. They'll take the one shot that makes you look lost. Let me be clear. If any of you are young and it's your first time out, you just signed up yesterday and this is where you are, let me be clear to you. The press is not safe, even if they're United States press. This is what President Donald Trump and his entire team has to deal with. The entire press corps, they think you're infidels. They work for the Ayatollah because the Ayatollah has $200 billion to grease their greedy little palms with, because the Queen has been funding Hollywood for a whole 70 years in this country to say the only thing that matters and the only value that matters is money, just like her empire, just like Queen Elizabeth I, who sent out the first slave ship to India and started the East India Slaving Company. That was Queen Elizabeth, a woman, and Queen Victoria became the Empress of India. Parliament gave her that name. Parliament gave her that title. Britain doesn't have a republic. Britain is now sending in ships, warships, down there. Notice the BBC headlines do not say who they are going to go protect. They're not saying if it's to protect American lives or Iranian sides. And they have not exited the Iran deal, which means that money that went to bomb 12 ballistic missiles to bomb an American site in Iraq, that was funded by the UK, Germany, France, China, and Russia. And let me tell you, China wouldn't exist if it weren't for German and UK industries. The royal industries of Germany and UK. Germany, UK are at the head of this, and Italy, by the way, is right in behind it. Italy's right on in there. But the industries that are strongest are UK and Germany, and their banks are completely bankrolling this whole thing. They have not left the Iran deal. They are funding the bombing that's happening. So if British soldiers come by, don't smile at them. Turn your heads from them. You should see the things that they have done to our country when they come. They don't bring a full salute. They don't bring full attention. They won't even wear full colors when they come into our ports. They think we're infidels. They spit on the fact that we believe that we have rights and we are equal to the Queen. They like being servants. They like being peasants. They think Americans are nothing but dirt. And that is my challenge to the rest of us in America this year. Are we going to be the dirt they keep using our music to make us become? Notice they haven't turned England into a major heroin and overdosing empire, nor South Africa, nor China. None of their imperialist empires, not Canada. Only America are they attacking with their weapon of war. Only America are they changing the marijuana laws. You will not find that in any of their dominions. Their people are strong. They may not have money, but they are not killing them off in record numbers. So, the last thing I ask is that you pressure Congress to start sending troops from the areas that never ever send their troops. We have 50 states. 50 states, and yet they only ever send them from the 3 states they only ever send troops from? I think since Senator Lindsey Graham complained so very much about Donald Trump removing troops from Syria, I think it's time Senator Lindsey Graham stepped up to the plate. Since he lets in German industries, I think he should prove that he's not aligned with Germany and German industries and Iran, and should prove that he's not with Syria, and say that, hey, I'm going to offer my support, and let his boys go ahead and go in South Carolina like he never ever does. He gets all of our taxes, all of our funding, but he never lets his boy go. That sounds like corruption to me. Same thing with Senator Warren, same thing with Chuck Schumer. Massachusetts and New York sure get a pass, and so does Chicago, Washington, Seattle, and so does Colorado. Isn't that interesting? I think it's very interesting how corrupt our 50 states are, which states always send their troops and which states never do, and yet they have all these stations that get all this funding. What do? Sit and eat donuts? There's a reason some of these troops are so young. They'll only harvest from them. And therefore, I tip my hat off to you even more. I'm sure there's a joke in these places. Send them here. Send your son here. He'll get awards if he goes here, but he'll never ever be deployed. Send your son here. He'll never be deployed. Send your son here. He'll never be deployed. Time to be deployed and be an American hero, I think. Time to be deployed and be an American hero. Time to send them off. I think it'd be a real nice study, don't you think, everyone? To find out how many senators' sons, in order to get their name and say, oh, I have a decorated son. Doesn't Joe Biden have a decorated son, everything? Retired military, retired Marines or whatever. To see where his son was. To see where he was actually where he was actually stationed. All these people have amazing little stations. Oh, it's just fascinating to see all these little names and stations where they're put and how they just never ever get out into the field. Isn't that interesting? And then my very last thing to use this. Some of the best men I have ever known have been military men. Some of the best men I have ever known have been in the United States military. The best men in the world. The best men with the purest hearts of gold. Warrior hearts. Woman too, actually, come to think of it. Oh my God. Incredible woman. Who I am proud to know. All of them just became so much more after they joined the military. Like just, I almost didn't recognize any of them now that I think about it. Like just so much more. Navy, gosh, Air Force. You know, my dad was my first, but there's others that joined the Air Force. And then Marines. All just got this like, and just filled out and became this person. And the only stories they'll put out now are, oh, they got trapped in drugs, or oh, they got into this or whatever. And all I can say is this body is a luxury sports car. It's a luxury car. It's a luxury car. You can do things with it. You can do things with it. It can do so much for you. It can live your life for you in ways that are incredible. And what you put into it, what you put into it is like what you put into your luxury car. And what you put into it can make this luxury car just boom, pow, pow, pow. you know, or it can make it just shrivel. And that's a challenge. But as a military person, you get to see so many examples around you of people who could just of like making it strong without poisoning it, because you want it for the long haul, and just exemplary people. And freedom to be yourself and be an individual. That's what's amazing, is they all became more themselves. That's what I loved about it, is that I got to see that special part I loved about each of them just finally blossom, you know. And maybe it's because they leave their families and find a family outside. Maybe that's the reason why. I don't know. But whatever it is, some of the best people, warriors. So to those of you who are ever scared, just keep your eye right here. Your job is not out there. Don't keep your eye out there. Out there is for somebody else. That's their job, is to look out there. Your job isn't out there. Your job isn't to take in everything out there. Your job is to take in right here, right here, right here. Your job is to stay alive. That's it. Your number one job is to stay alive. Your number two job is to keep those around you alive. That's it. Number one job, stay alive. Number two job, keep the people around you alive. That's it. Number three job, obey orders. Stay alive, keep the people around you, obey orders. Use common sense. How do you do that? You pay attention. You pay attention to the things right around you. Start paying attention with your ears. Sight, sound, and start using your body. Start paying attention to temperature changes, like the weather. Start paying attention to sounds. You're going to be used to being online, on your phone, gaming. All of a sudden, now you're outside. And outside, there's a lot of different sensories. It's going to smell totally different out there, because they have all these resources that are, all these minerals out there, these oils and gems, and they have a lot of mining going on out there because they won't allow mining here. They've funded so many of our congressmen to eliminate all mining so that we're so poor. We used to be a wealthy nation. They've totally paid all of our politicians to ban us from ever making money off of our land and using our land for resources, which is what it was made for. That's exactly what we've been doing for millions of years, is you're supposed to live off your land. They have banned living off our land. In Iraq, they still do that. In Iran, they still do that. They live off their land. It's going to smell different over there. It's going to sound different over there. And it's beautiful over there. There are some beautiful, beautiful buildings, beautiful heritage sites you'll get to see. Enjoy those, but don't be distracted by them. Get to know the people around you. Don't share a lot about yourself. Do not give yourself away. You don't know who's a friend. You don't know who's an enemy. You don't know who's with the press. You don't know who's taking money. You don't know. You don't know who's working for the other side. You don't know yet. Most people will be scared like you, just trying to get through things. You don't know who's really like a fan of President Trump. You don't know who got sent there because their mom got pissed and they sent them out. You're going to learn in the field to trust each other. You're going to learn. And that's what you becoming a man and a woman is all about, is starting to learn that you can trust this incredible body in the outdoors, and you're about to learn all that it can do and all that it can handle. That's a freaking wonderful journey. You're about to learn that, hey, you actually don't need as much sleep as everyone's been telling you. They all say you need 8 hours. That's actually total BS. I would totally cuss if it wasn't YouTube rules. But that's BS. You don't need 8 hours of sleep. That isn't true for the entire history of humanity. That's not true. You know, you need between 4 to 6 hours of sleep. That's how much sleep you need. But you only need that much sleep if you've been working. But we need to eat, sleep, and work every day. Eat, sleep, and work. It's bad if you're not sleeping every night. If you stop sleeping every night, if you're not actually sleeping, at least getting a 4-hour stretch during the night, if that's not happening, getting consistently 4 to 5 hours a night, if that's not happening consistently every night, then you start to get problems. Then problems start to come if you're not eating every single day, if you're not sleeping every day, if you're not working every day. And the work wears you out, and then that sleep becomes more high quality. And that's when people start saying, oh, you need 8 hours, because we're not really working all that much anymore. We're sitting at a desk, and then so our sleep is more restless and not really in a deep sleep anymore. You guys are going to start actually using your body. You're going to start getting into the body, and you're going to sleep nice and hard. It's going to feel like being at camp. If any of you guys have been at camp before, man, at camp, you don't sleep because you're having too much fun, but you're like climbing rock rock walls and you're like doing anything, you're paddling, and you're swimming, everything. You get to bed and you're like, and when they wake you up, you're just like, huh, what's going on? And then you go out and have fun and everything like that again and stuff like that. So it's really, really fun. And by the way, I did one of my most fun camps was actually an Episcopalian church camp. They didn't have church camps like that for a Catholic camp. So there was a difference between, at least where I was, a difference between the Episcopalian, a big difference between Episcopalian and Catholic. At least where I was, where I grew up, they at least had a camp. They at least had a camp for us at the Episcopalian church where they allowed us, not only was the pastor married, but they actually let you go to a camp, and that's where I learned to Hobie cat, like the Hobie cat. I got on a sailboat and I learned that I love the water. The team there, I must have always just been gosh darn it. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm telling another story like this. I keep doing this with you guys and I just realized it until I talk to you. I'm like, oh, right. So, like, I would do the Hobie Cat and I'd be with the kids or whatever and stuff like, because I didn't go to that church, so I didn't know all the kids or whatever. And so or maybe it's just because my abuse stuck out, like they could just tell I was so abused. And so the guys took me under their, I don't know what it was. They saw I loved it so much. I think that's probably what it was. I just loved the freedom of it. I didn't have anything like that at home. I just was like out on this Hobie Cat and I would want to get it where it's tilting. And I'd want to hang off the edge. And I was like, keep going more. And maybe that's adrenaline junkie. I was like, keep going more. And so the guys were like, you guys got to come. They're the guys who ran the thing, who actually the older kids who ran the camp. They're like, you got to come down like when you're on break and it does activities. They're like, when you have the 2-hour break for activities, come down and we'll take you out alone or whatever. And I was like, yeah. They're like, you can do it as part of the activity. So I would skip doing like the painting of the shirts and everything like that. I didn't want to do that anyway. I didn't want to paint the shirts. I didn't want to do like any kind of like glitter on a shirt and t-shirts and stuff like that. I didn't want to do anything like scrawling on them. Well, I didn't want to do bows and arrows. I didn't want to do any of that. I wanted to go down there on that big freaking Hobie Cat and I wanted to sail and I wanted to be at the far tip of it. And I was like, tip it. And I'd hang off the end and I'd be like, woo. And the wind would just be like, whoosh. And I'd be in my little, the little safety thing right on the, wearing the safety vest, the life vest. And I'd wear that life vest and I did that at Episcopalian camp. So, so that must have, it can't be it had to be different, like in some ways or whatever. I just didn't know the Queen of England was the supreme ruler of that. The Pope is the leader of the Catholic Church. The Queen of England is the supreme ruler. But I guess she didn't have as much power back then. She has much more power now that the people don't have a vote anymore. I guess Parliament is totally in her pocket now. So anyway, thank you very much to our American heroes who are out there, our GI Joes or whatever, who are actually protecting our freedoms, because we still have a right to vote, which is and it's still hopefully being obeyed. We're fighting for that. We are fighting for that freedom right now. So we are fighting for that in our courts and in our systems. So please go out there and vote, and we are going to try and support you. So, by the way, January is when people like Mitch McConnell are up, Senator Lindsey Graham are up, and Chuck Grassley. All of those people, those primary seats, you need to get in and file January 21st, isn't it? One of those guys, the primary filing is coming up, like to actually replace those guys, to come in and say, I want to be a candidate for the primaries. That's this month. All the primaries, it's begun, like you've got to file and say, I'm going to run against this guy. Those filings are this month. So the patriots who have decided to run, who have absolutely zero political experience. I want a guy with zero political experience. I swear to God, if you've been in politics, I'm not going to look at you anymore. I want a guy who's, now with all the studying I've done, I've just read Ben Franklin's speech before the Continental Congress, and he said we can't do it unless we have immediate prayer and we all get down like on our hands and knees. And I was like, what the heck? I feel like I don't even know. I feel like I don't know. I found out that they got together and they prayed in the Capitol until 1850. By the way, 1850 is when Queen Victoria and Prince Albert got together. So I am just finding out a ton of stuff. I have got to say, at this point, I'm like, I really want a Protestant in. I'm like, I want a Protestant, but I'm like, that's identity politics. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to vote on individuals, but I I really want someone. I don't want a politician. I no more politicians. I want the guy that comes and delivers my mail. I want, like I said, when I go online and I look up how to, do my wood stove fire grill, I want that guy. I want the guy who does my taxes, or like, the guy that can build a house. I want a guy who can build a house. I want writers. I want writers, people who love to write. I want people who love the Constitution. I want people who actually know the history of this country. And I don't want people who are just like, oh, I love Jesus. I've looked into their things because they're all into the Green Movement. I've looked into the Green Movement. Every single little Jesus blog, they're all like, oh, Jesus blog. Oh, Jesus blog. We love Ben Franklin. We love Ben Franklin. And you go into it, and what are their activities? Eat green. Eat green. Well, green is freaking climate change. That's all Queen of England and German industries. It's 100% that. Every freaking Christian blog out there and Christian church out there, even when you do made in the USA products online, have you noticed they're all green and sustainable? And I'm like, that's still German. Thanks a lot. I don't want green and sustainable anymore. I want things that work. I want things that use the inventions we did for the last 10,000 years, not de-development that has caused all the fires down in Australia. I'm sorry, men in uniform, I have just gone off. I hope maybe see a little bit of that American spirit. So a little of that red, white, and blue for you, freedom. So let me see if I can, hold on a minute. There we go. That's for all of our men and women going on over to Iran, actually all across the world. We stand with you. We don't know where Britain stands right now, or the Royal Navy. So Royal Navy, you may think that you're going over to protect the rights and freedoms of people everywhere, but you should really look into it, because that's not what Britain says, and that's not what your king and queen are saying at all. But we hope that you are. I don't know why you don't put on your Royal Navy blues when you come and visit us. Why is that, Royal Navy? Do you not stand up for free speech anymore? Is that, you don't stand up for the freedom to dissent with your queen? Because my boys in blue do, my girls in blue do. Yes, they do. Red, white, and blue. We are red, white, and blue, and we fight for you, free citizens of the world. And that includes all of you in Iran who are fighting for your freedoms and rights right now. We dance for you and we fight for you all the ways that we can. We're working hard for you. Love you. Bye. Oh, yeah, donate down below if you can. Keep the fight going. Maybe I'll get a t-shirt that says infidel. I'm an infidel. Have you noticed that the press corps just treats President Trump like he's an infidel? All the press corps, Kellyanne Conway, everyone, they full on are like, you're infidels. That's how they, even Chris on Fox News, even Chris treated our Secretary of State Pompeo like he's an infidel. They treat the Queen like she's not an infidel. They treat the Queen, France, Germany, who's harboring and putting them in the land of 100 castles, Nazi war criminals, celebrating them, and supporting Iran and their persecution of people who are protesting in the streets, who are shooting them in the head just for gathering and dissenting with their government, just for protesting in the street. They're shooting them dead in the streets, their own government. And the UK, France, and Germany are supporting and funding it. And our press treats our American government as if we are infidels, as if we must be the bad guys. And so I think I'm going to get a t-shirt that says infidel. Infidel. And on the back, I'll just say patriot. Infidel and patriot. Proud. Peace out.